Unless you're allergic, bees aren't usually life-threatening. But that's just about normal bees. As for the Africanized bees, which is a result of crossbreeding the European honeybee with the East African honeybee, they can do some real damage even if you're not allergic. The Africanized bee, also known as the killer bee, is more defensive than other honeybee species, which usually only sting as a last resort. Killer bees react to any kind of threat much quicker than other bees, and swarm together to protect their hive, meaning that a person can receive up to 10 times more stings than with typical bees. These super aggressive buzzers have been known to chase down their victims for up to a quarter of a mile, and they've taken their fair share of victims, both human and animal. Maybe we shouldn't crossbreed any more venomous creatures, eh? Didn't really turn out too good this time around. Speaking of bees, another airborne attacker is the hornet. Hornets can be aggressive at the slightest provocation. But just imagine a Japanese giant hornet coming after you. Their sting is so painful that it'll send you straight to the hospital. Even if you're not allergic, the stings can still be fatal if enough venom is injected. And if you do have an allergy, well, it's not your day. Anaphylactic shock is ahead. Getting stung 10 times guarantees that a person will need medical attention. In the rare but possible case of being stung more than 30 times, a patient will require emergency medical treatment. The painful venomous sting can cause kidney failure, which means death if not treated. I wonder if their honey is any good. Has anybody gotten close enough to check? One more flying terror is the tsetse fly. These pesky bloodsuckers are the largest African flies and inhabit the more tropical areas of the continent. Like some of the other parasites that rely on drinking blood for survival, the tsetse fly can transfer a dangerous disease to people called human sleeping sickness. No, it doesn't help you sleep at night. In the first stage of the disease, people experience flu-like symptoms including fever and headaches. Only after weeks or even a few months does the second stage begin with confusion, numbness, and problems with nighttime sleep. The good news is that treatment and intervention has reduced the fatality rate tremendously, from around 34,000 people in 1990 to 3,500 in 2015. And this number continues to drop. The plant ominously nicknamed corpse flower is actually quite pretty to look at. It's a huge green flower rising up to 10 feet, as tall as a brown bear on its hind paws. Still, you aren't likely to marvel at its beauty for long, because it emits a powerful smell of rot. Flies and other insects of not very discriminating tastes love this odor and pollinate the plant with gusto. I'll perfectly understand it if you run away screaming from all this stinking nightmare, but remember this, the trees have ears too, and they'll hear your cries. Orichalieria is yet another species of fungi that look like human body parts, only this time it's ears. These are jelly mushrooms that grow on trees and feed on them. A grown-up fungus takes the shape eerily resembling a human ear attached to a tree trunk. At a closer look, though, it's darker and more translucent. Even more, you can safely cut a dozen of them off the tree and take them home to cook. These shrooms are safe to eat. Ear soup, anyone? What you definitely don't want to eat looks, ironically, like a tooth. Its name would tell you as much, though. It's a bleeding tooth fungus. It doesn't look appetizing either. A white jelly-like stub with blood-red liquid oozing from its pores. Blah. Don't let the name or looks confuse you. The mushroom got its name for the tooth-like protrusions on its skin, on which it grows its spores, and the liquid is, in many ways, similar to tree sap. The fungus secretes it when it takes too much water from the soil, although no one still knows its purpose. As for not wanting to eat it, well, it's not poisonous, it's just really bad tasting. Unlike the white baneberry, which just happens to be another organ-like plant. It's probably not as scary as the rest of what I've already told you, but still, a shrub named doll's eyes is bound to give you the creeps. It's a green plant that has tall red stalks on its top, which are decorated with numerous white berries. What makes it eerie is that each berry has a black dot in the center, making the whole structure look like some creepy eyeball tree. If you're not frightened off by its looks, though, don't even think of trying out one of the eyes. They're highly toxic, and a single berry can easily bring down even a completely healthy person. Hey, look, what's that black thing over there? Is that a bat? Oh no, it's just another flower, but its name is telling – the black bat flower. In the lush rainforest of the tropics, it's quite easy to mistake this eerie bloom for a real bat, especially in the twilight. However, many people seem to take some morbid liking to this plant, growing it in their personal gardens. As a scarecrow, perhaps? What gardeners don't like in their backyards is the cedar apple rust fungus. It isn't only harmful for the cedars, hence the name, but it also looks quite repulsive. It starts as a blemish on the leaves of a tree, and it isn't easy to recognize it at first. But very soon, it grows into a brownish-yellow pod that continues to increase in size until it's grown enough to start sprouting. And that's the most repugnant stage. The brown pod begins pushing out orange tentacles, making the thing look like some exotic fruit. Soon, the sprouts, which have a jelly-like texture, cover more and more of the pod and hang from the branch like an orange mutant octopus. In addition, they react to the humidity of the air, shrinking when it's too dry for comfort and swelling when it's wet. This snail is so dangerous that one drop of its venom is more than enough to end 20 human lives. The worst thing about it is there is no cure or some kind of antidote. If it stings you, you are dead, whatever you do. It is also known as the cigarette snail, because its poison kills you as fast as it takes you to finish one cigarette. Hopefully, you don't smoke, so that you'll have time for something more important. This thing looks like a stone, see? Now, there are two things you need to know about this fish. First, if you confuse it with a rock and step on its spikes, it will poison you, and you will lose your leg. That's actually the best-case scenario. The stonefish is very economical. It injects the amount of poison proportional to the pressing weight. The second thing is, it takes the stonefish just 0.15 seconds to react to a moving object, another fish or your leg, to open its mouth and bite it. So losing a leg is really possible. So watch your step whenever you are in the ocean. This kind of bee is very different from all others because Africanized honeybees are actually a result of an experiment. Ooh. A Brazilian man was trying to make a new breed of bees and actually let them out. So these bees are more aggressive than regular bees, maybe because they know they were genetically engineered and are pissed off about it. And they can chase their victims for very long distances. Their poison is not more dangerous than the one that normally more friendly bees have, but if you get stung by a large number of them, you should see a doctor anyway. Do you know why the most venomous spider in the world is called wandering spider? The thing is that, unlike other spiders, it is often found in places full of people, especially in the daytime. You can find them in houses or even in cars. Now, we wonder how Ron Weasley would react to such news. You may have heard about this snake. Its name is pretty popular. Quentin Tarantino gave this codename to the main character in Kill Bill. Now, this snake is known as the most aggressive snake of all. Usually experts say that when you see a snake, the best course of action is to move away from the snake as slowly as you can. Otherwise, it might think you are a threat and attack you, which is probably the last thing you want to happen. However, black mamba is very different. It can attack you even without provocation. Some people think that it kind of enjoys it. Anyways, if it bites a person and he or she doesn't get an antidote in the next 30 to 50 minutes, they will die. The poison shuts down the nervous system and paralyzes the victim.
Thank goodness this tree is really easy to recognize so that you'll know to stay far away from it. It can reach heights of 130 feet. Its trunk is covered with cone-shaped spikes, and its fruit looks like mini pumpkins. Every part of this tree is dangerous to people. If you get its sap in your eyes, blindness can become a frighteningly real possibility. If you accidentally eat the fruit, your body will have an almost instant reaction with cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea. And if all that isn't enough to keep you at a distance, when the fruit matures, it becomes dark brown and explodes, shooting seeds a whopping 150 miles per hour in all directions. You can imagine what a serious injury that could cause if you ever get in the way of these organic bullets. This might come as a surprise, but there's no mistake here. Cherry trees can be extremely dangerous. especially for small children and dogs. The cherry tree's relatives include peach, plum, apricot, choke cherry, and other trees of this kind. All of them release particular chemicals that later metabolize into cyanide. If we talk about cherry trees in particular, you can find these chemicals throughout the plant, especially in high concentrations on fallen and wilted leaves. If a child or dog eats just 1 or 2 of this tree's leaves, they'll suffer from a horrible stomachache. And if they eat more than that, they'll most likely end up with cyanide poisoning. So if you notice symptoms like weak pulse, seizures, dark urine and gums, and difficulties breathing, call for help immediately. Cyanide poisoning can easily and quickly become fatal. This is one more tree we bet you never suspected of presenting any sort of danger. But in fact, it's quite a threat. All parts of the Ohio buckeye tree contain saponins, which are chemicals that depress the central nervous system. Little kids, as well as pets, love playing with the brown, shiny buckeye nuts that fall onto the ground. Just make sure that your little ones don't put them in their mouths. If children or dogs eat or chew on buckeyes, they'll most likely suffer from vomiting and diarrhea. Pets may have trouble breathing or start to stagger and shake. If you have an Ohio buckeye tree near your house, your best and safest bet is to pick up all the nuts and twigs and keep them out of your kids' and pets' reach.
Imagine lying on a beach and seeing a fish climbing out of the water next to you, stretching its fishy limbs and going about its fishy business without actually returning. That's a climbing perch for you. These critters can switch from gills to lungs to breathe and can live without returning to water for up to 6 days. And, of course, they need food, so they hunt for insects on land as well. Where else? There's one more disturbing feature, though. When a bird or an animal tries to eat a climbing perch, it spreads its gills, blocking the predator's airways, so it's kinda lose-lose. There's a species of catfish living in the Tarn River in France that has adapted to hunting pigeons walking along the banks. Catfish are known to grow to huge sizes if left unchecked, but interestingly, only the middle-sized fish hunt on land for some reason. It might be so because the bigger ones just can't come close enough and be able to go back to the water with their prey. Stranger still, there are no other catfish species known for this hunting style. Hunting on land doesn't necessarily mean actually going there. Archer fish have developed an ingenious way to get to its insect prey above water without even showing up, by shooting it with a stream of water. A fly sitting peacefully on a tree branch hanging above a pond won't even know what hit it when an archer fish spits at it, and then it's engulfed in water, falling down to be inevitably eaten. If silver arowana in South America was as large as, say, a shark, we'd all be in trouble. This incredible fish can jump twice its own body length out of the water to get its prey, and does it so fast that even snakes have no chance of getting away from its jaws. In fact, they love eating land dwellers so much that they don't even pay attention to other fish, especially those swimming lower than them. And now, the horror. Tiger sharks, which are among the fiercest ocean predators, can hunt land animals too. Okay, well, not quite. They sometimes eat migratory birds flying over their territories. And they don't even need to leap out of the water for that. Birds, like woodpeckers and meadowlarks, become blinded and confused by oil rigs at night and fall into the water where sharks are happy to pick them up for lunch. So, no need to worry about tiger sharks stalking the shores. African tigerfish will eat whatever it finds, and given its own size and that of its monstrous teeth, you can imagine it finds a lot of food. It mostly feeds on other fish, but when nutrition is scarce, it can jump out of the water and catch both insects and small birds right in the middle of the flight. It's not so big as to eat a human, of course, but the name should warn you that it can easily take a bite out of your arm or leg. Meet the living fossil, the lungfish. It's been around for 400 million years and has changed only a little. There are several species of this creature, all living in distinct parts of the world, but they have one thing in common. You probably guessed it. Ears. No, lungs. Lungfish can breathe underwater using its gills and crawl onto land and do whatever fish do for days on end there. And of course, it can feed on land animals. In fact, lungfish are omnivores, meaning they eat everything from insects to other fish to roots and plants.
Sheracanthium inclusium, or simply yellow sac, is a spider with a yellow-beige abdomen. Its size ranges from 0.11 inches to 0.39 inches, and it is considered to be responsible for the majority of bites in the world. Needless to say, its bites are quite painful, and its venom is necrotic. It basically damages and kills skin tissue. As a result, your skin begins to itch and swell. As for their hunting technique, they're not content with just catching their prey within a web. They actually hunt for them at nighttime. Thankfully, they don't necessarily want to be around people, but you might come across them while gardening or when in their preferred habitat. If you want to minimize any chances of meeting a yellow sac, be sure to seal all of the holes, cracks, and gaps in your home's doors, windows, and foundations. Now those yellow sacs definitely won't get you. It's not hard to recognize the redback spider. Latrodectus has cell T. It has a black body with a bright red stripe on the upper side of its abdomen. If you live in Australia, Southeast Asia, or New Zealand, you have a good chance of running into it. Don't worry though, redback spiders aren't naturally aggressive and usually don't attack people on the spot unless they're provoked. However, they are still responsible for the majority of serious spider bites in Australia. It's female redbacks you should stay away from since the males are way too tiny to seriously harm anyone. Females can reach a size of 0.39 inches and their venom is extremely toxic. It affects your system slowly, causing severe pain, nausea, and muscle weakness. If you are bitten, use an ice pack for first aid and visit the hospital right away. The Chinese bird spider, or Cryopagopus schmidti, is one of the largest Asian spiders to be found in China, where it tops the list of the most venomous spiders and Vietnam. It has a dark yellow-brown body and reaches around 8 inches in size. Chinese bird spiders usually live in burrows and emerge only to find prey. Their venom is called neurotoxin, and it makes the spider's victims incapable of moving. Plus, it's so deadly that even minimal doses of it can be enough for small mammals. Chinese bird spiders aren't big fans of people either. If disturbed, they will act aggressively and bite you. If this happens, go to the hospital as quickly as you can. If left untreated, a Chinese bird spider's bite can lead to all kinds of awful consequences. Loxos Kelly's reclusa, also known as the brown recluse spider, is one of the most poisonous spiders in the entire world. These guys reach up to 0.79 inches and love to hide in dark and warm places, especially behind furniture. Well, we don't know about you, but we're definitely checking all the corners of our house right after this video. Anyway, brown recluse spider venom is necrotic and can easily destroy the walls of blood vessels near the bite. A victim may end up developing an ulcer on their skin that can take a couple of months to heal. In the most severe cases, the bite can become infected, and, as you can probably guess, it won't be pretty. So the best course of action would be to wash the bite with soap as soon as possible, elevate the bitten area, apply a cold compress, and visit the doctor immediately. While we're on the topic of recluse spiders, let's meet another one, Loxosceles laeta, or the Chilean recluse spider. These guys usually reach 1.5 inches in size and like to chill out in South America, Chile, Peru, Argentina, and Brazil. In general, Chilean recluse spiders don't show any particular signs of aggression toward people. Nevertheless, they can bite when pressed against human skin. After that, possible symptoms may vary from simple skin irritation to death of skin and other cells. Don't forget that a first aid kit should include an ice pack and aloe vera, which will be useful for the bite. These measures will help to at least relieve the pain while on the way to the hospital.